Okay, this is stupid. Trump should not be turning himself in. I know I've been talking about for the last week about how this is the smart thing for him to do politically, and it is. But as a voter, this is insulting to my intelligence, and it's really hard for me to care personally about Trump being politically persecuted, about the Democratic Party trying to block the Republican Party from running their preferred candidate by trying to take the top Republican presidential candidate and throw him in prison. You know, that really bad thing that the Democrats are trying to do is being downplayed by the fact that Trump's actions betray the truth here and what I think is the proper narrative. The proper narrative here is that the Dems are corrupt and that this is a purely political prosecution, and therefore it is an act of persecution, and that if Trump goes to New York, he will be subject to a lynching jury if it's a jury trial at all. And if it's not a jury trial, the judge in the case, which has already been handpicked, not randomly picked, will certainly convict Trump of whatever they charge him with, and they will give him the maximum sentence in order to put him in prison so that he cannot be president. That is the entire purpose of this whole charade. We all recognize this. And so if you believe that the system is rigged against Trump, the last thing that he should do is play into their hand and let them do it to him. Now, politically, I've been talking about how he benefits from this because, he martyrs himself and he looks like, such a victim, and people are going to go, wow, that's crazy. Well, yeah, but at the end of the day, once people are woken up to that fact, if you're someone like me who already sees this as political prosecution and that there's no way Trump can win, and that Trump is either an idiot for going to New York, or he's just trying to play into their hand to maximize the political fallout. Either way, that doesn't make him look good. What he should be, if he's acting honestly and he believes that this is a political prosecution, he should try to avoid it. And the elephant in the room here that I'm referring to was Ron DeSantis' offer to try and resist the extradition of Trump back to the corrupt state of New York. This is what we all said DeSantis should have offered to do last week, over a week ago now, and he finally did it when the charges were officially announced. But Trump is not taking him up on the offer. Trump is saying, no thanks, Ron. I don't want protection. I'm going to let them put me in prison for as long as they please. And there's nothing I can do about it. I'm not even going to hire a competent attorney. Alan Dershowitz apparently has offered, definitely one of the #1 living defense attorneys in America, particularly in New York City and Manhattan, where he has successfully defended people in high-profile trials. Trump is not forking out the dough to retain Alan Dershowitz. He is going with, some other lawyer who, given Trump's history with lawyers, I would say he's probably on the value side of the equation. He's not probably the most competent guy in the world. He's probably someone who doesn't charge Trump a whole lot of money compared to someone like an Alan Dershowitz. We've seen this repeatedly with Trump lawyers. He hires bad lawyers. That's just his history. And so it's not like he's going to win in court, at least not at this first level. Maybe if he appeals all the way to the Supreme Court, he might have a chance. But who knows if the Supreme Court will take his case. The Supreme Court didn't take his, even though it wasn't him that brought the case, the Supreme Court did not take any election challenges in 2020. So why do they think that they'll take a case to help Trump now? If Trump goes to New York, which he has, the odds are stacked against him. I'm not saying that New York will definitely stop him from becoming president. No, that's not the case at all. In fact, Trump could very well become president if he's in prison. I know that sounds a little nuts, but that's possible. They could put him away in prison, and Trump could still win. I don't think he could pardon himself because it's a state crime, but he could be the president, and he could operate from a jail cell. He'd have full Secret Service detail and all that, and people would come in and meet with him all the time, and but he can avoid that by simply not going to New York and resisting their extradition. I think in this case, the smartest thing to do is to exhaust every possible avenue, and that means fighting from the very beginning, going all the way back to the extradition. Sure, is it possible in the future, okay, even if Florida protects you, well, maybe he goes to some other state, like, let's say Georgia, and Georgia decides to ambush him, and Brian Kemp sends in the Gestapo to arrest Trump at a rally, and they haul him back to New York. Okay, well, then you deal with the problem then, but why are you giving up now? The trial is probably going to be taking place around the time of the election, they're saying now. What if they deny you bail, Trump? You're worried, you're not going to be able to leave Florida if you don't go and deal with this now. You'll be stuck, under Ron DeSantis' protection. Oh my gosh. You'll look like such a small little man. You'll have to rely on DeSantis to protect you. You want to be a tough guy and go and fight it in New York? Well, what if they deny you bond? Because they say, well, you're a billionaire. You could smuggle yourself out of the country, no problem. And so you're a huge flight risk. We got to keep him locked up. And so, or worse yet, or maybe not worse, but just as bad, they could give him an ankle monitor, put him under house arrest at Trump Tower in New York City, where they can keep an eye on him, and he's stuck up in the penthouse for the next 2 years. I mean, we don't know. Anything could happen. I mean, look at what they done to the January 6th people, denying them bail. Trump, I don't want to say it, but I mean, bad things could happen to him in jail. Let's just put it that way. And I feel like this is like everyone's racing to wait for the Trump mugshot. Everyone wants the Trump perp walk. And even I've been hyping it up. I've been saying, oh my gosh, this is what we want to see. This will be great television, the most anticipated TV event, of the millennium so far. But if I look at it from the perspective of, like, just a regular Trump supporter, if I look at this as, hey, I want this guy to win. Hey, I don't want Trump going to prison. This is not the thing to do. I just don't see him doing that well in court in this. I mean, the deck is stacked against him, and on top of that, he has a history of hiring incompetent lawyers, such as Michael Cohen, which is why he's in this whole problem, is because he hired a bad lawyer, Michael Cohen. And that's why the government, the feds or the state, I can't remember which, maybe it was both, were able to squeeze Michael Cohen, flip him to their side, and gain the pretext for this whole prosecution of Trump. It all goes back to Trump's bad decisions with respect to legal counsel. So yes, is it possible that Trump is able to get these charges dismissed by going and dealing with them in person, in court, in Manhattan, and he's able to, get this behind him and move on with his campaign, and, then have total freedom to move about the several states without risk of arrest? Yes. That there is a chance of that this works out in Trump's favor. But the overwhelming odds to me seem like going to New York will result in an outcome worse than just camping out in Florida. Because here's the thing, if he camps out in Florida and he has popular opinion on his side and everyone agrees, hey, these are BS charges, eventually New York might be pressured to just give up on it entirely and forget about it. If Trump is a wanted fugitive for a year and a half and then finally he steps foot outside of Florida and then, he gets tackled by some local cops and extradited to New York, that might be, worse. I don't know. I mean, there's so many possibilities. I don't want to get too much down the hypothetical lane. But all I'm saying is if you look at all the different scenarios, the vast majority of them are very bad. So I think Trump needs to wise up, and, well, it's too late now. I mean, he's already there, but he shouldn't have gone. That's just, I want to get that out of the way now. Before anything really bad happens, I want to say this was the wrong decision. Could I be wrong? Sure, I'm wrong all the time. Anyone who listens to this channel frequently knows that I'm wrong all the time. But this is the way I see it at this point. So with that said, I will see you folks back here tomorrow.